and welcome to episode 501 of the Spitballing Pod. I'm Luke Byron, joined as always by Tom Kennett and Jack Harper. The Premier League is back. The champions picked up where they left off with a 3-0 win against Coventry, while Manchester United sunk to a 2-0 loss against newly promoted Hull City. Ipswich, Everton and Leeds were all victorious on the 3pm slate, and then Tottenham signed off Saturday in style with a 3-0 loss at Brentford. On Sunday, we saw Unai's Villa get trounced by Brighton, City came from behind to beat Bournemouth, and the Liverpool scored in stoppage time again to deny Newcastle all 3 points. We'll get into all of that and more. TK, Jack, how are we doing today?
Not bad.
Yeah, pumped.
You've not played yet.
Yeah.
You have played. Explains both of those directions.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to the Prem being back till Sunday, then suddenly didn't like it so much.
First of all, I would say thank you to everyone that tuned in to our Big Prem preview last week. Next week, we don't stop and we will have an even bigger episode for Deadline Day where we'll again have multiple fans of different clubs joining us to share their thoughts on the business their team has done. I should point out that we're recording it on Deadline Day, which is Tuesday. Usually we would stick to the Monday, and just history has told me if we record on the Monday, it's going to be the most chaotic deadline day in the history of deadline days. And so far safer to just go with the Tuesday and get it out a little bit later in the week. So that is that. Jack won't be there doing my utmost to get another Chelsea fan on. I'm sure I will find one eventually. And should have a few debuts as well. So some new people on the pod. Lastly, I would say before we get into the football, because we are doing this on a Monday night, Chelsea are playing, so we've got Jack for a limited time. In the first weekend of the international break, I have acquired the services of Keenan to attempt another eating challenge on the podcast. The issue is we don't have one currently to do, so I would ask anyone listening to this, watching this, if you have any ideas or if you just see something come up on your feed, if you send them to SpitballingPod on Twitter, TikTok or Instagram, or just send them to me directly at Luke Byron on Twitter or Luke Byron 94 on Instagram, and pick one out that Keenan does have to agree to. Initially bullish on the 99900 challenge. Doesn't seem to be quite as bullish on that now, and it's a 15-minute challenge, so ideally we have one that stretches out a little bit longer.
One has just sprung to mind, Centurion, but with fish fingers. One fish finger a minute for 100 minutes. I think I could on a good day. But
if the wind was right.
That's also 100 fish fingers.
I
think he's got that in him for sure.
I'm also looking at the size of my oven and just thinking, do we have 100 fish fingers in there? But
what you would do, I can lend you an air fryer, and then what you do is you cook 20.
An episode of us cooking fish fingers.
And then 20 minutes would have passed, and then you can put the next lot in.
Get Alex back in. Alex was a good third man last time. Or fourth man, rather.
We need him to go full Gordon Ramsay if he's cooking on the pod. Starts hammering us.
It's fucking raw.
Well, if you have anything similar, the idea of Keenan doing that in about 20 minutes is an interesting one. So we'll see. We've got a couple of weeks to tie that down. That would be, I think, recording the weekend of the 25th of September, I think, as I'm assuming he's not going to do it on a Monday night with work the next day, depending on what it is.
I would have said I would do an eating challenge, but that's literally just before my wedding, so I can't really risk any adverse effects.
You've just said that you can afford a bit of weight. Well, so if you lose a bit of weight now,
so this is true.
You can do an eating challenge.
I had said off pods that I am on a diet. I need to lose a bit of weight for the wedding, but I did want to be in a position where I need to fit back into my suit, which I've already unmeasured.
You don't want to be too baggy.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to be in a position where I was like, actually, I need to put 3 pounds back on. And this could be a perfect opportunity. So I could, yeah.
Let's get 100 fish fingers done.
I'm actually really glad you've just said that, because in my mind, your wedding was next October. So,
good.
I think
how's that happening?
That's a different wedding, I believe.
Yeah.
Alex's. I've got confused, but should probably make sure my suit still fits me.
I was about to say, got your suits ready for the day, boys?
Yeah.
Got to lose weight.
Initially did have a new one planned, then moved out. So we'll see whether it's a new sparkling one or whether it's the same one that's graced a few other weddings.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway,
and disgraced a few weddings.
We can get straight into it. The only other update I would do on a food basis is a number of weeks back, I gave some partial credit to an unnamed peri-peri establishment and said that I was going to give it another go that evening because it had been okay the day before. What a disgrace that place is. They're lucky I don't air them out right here, because when I'm spitting out the food, it's bad. When I can't work out if the chicken is under or overdone by the texture of it in my bite.
I can't actually imagine you spitting out food and wasting it.
There's no one there, and I still felt gross doing it because I didn't want to see that myself.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
and I'm not one to complain. You just won't get my business again.
It's the thing with chicken, isn't it? You get an unexpected crunch and you can no longer carry on with
it
the
wasn't
food.
that, it was like, no, because that's why I can barely have any sandwich from Tesco, because as soon as it crunches once, I rule it out.
Yeah.
When I've had a crunchy ham sandwich from there, as I reference each time, that's an issue. No, this one was like extra rubbery rubber. It was so, it had some like a bite to it. It was...
That's not chicken you're eating. That's chicken in the freeway underpass there.
The idea is spitting out like for moral reasons, as opposed to just more so disgusting morally.
It was ordered on their website and then got in there and they didn't have the order, and he said, well, don't order on our website, order through Uber Eats or
How close is it to here?
I'm not going to narrow it down too much, but when I've said you have a website up, which is why I ordered through the website. Like, how am I supposed to know?
These companies almost always tell you to go through the website as well.
They had 20% off, so he's like, I'll do the same thing again. What was it? And I said, well, there was a discount, but also don't worry about that now. I'm not going to have all of the same thing. And then when I heard him shout, whatever the guy's name was, rush it quickly, I said, no need to rush. And still, and if I was to give any advice, sticking the only bloke in the establishment that doesn't speak English on the front desk, not great customer service. So yeah, they won't be seeing me again.
I know,
and it's like Five Guys know, because back to back buy one get one free burgers they've given me, which
they heard
last weekend.
Getting back,
I didn't even want burgers, but once I saw that, I thought, how can I justify spending more somewhere else when I've got buy one get one free burgers here? So here we are. Not much more to say. Let's get into the football. And Arsenal kickstarted the season at home to Coventry with a 3-0 win. When I had a look back, because Troy asked me on the day, just without really thinking I would guess there, it's always the Premier League champions that kind of start the next season onwards. We had Liverpool last season. So I think they just seemed to pick one. And I looked, Arsenal have kickstarted 5 of the last 10 Premier League seasons, which some of those, I think there's no conspiracy theorist in this. They thought they were going to get some drama in there. When we were opening the season away at Selhurst Park, there was no coincidence in that, unfortunately.
Away at Brentford?
Yeah, the Brentford
on
one.
Friday night, they knew what they were getting.
And told us we couldn't mention that we had COVID, which was a whole...
Was that Selhurst Park one? Is that the Havertz penalty?
No, this was... That was against Bournemouth, but... a season earlier, the season later, the Havertz one. This was the first time we properly saw Gabriel Jesus in an Arsenal shirt, and it was like, what the hell is this? And we had about 10 games of that, and it was beautiful, and we all loved it. And
how do you shout in Mr. Box Office? I remember it.
He still was for it, because him getting injured at the World Cup ruined the entire World Cup for me. When we went out to France, that was no issue compared to him going down.
Disgusting.
And never was the same again, unfortunately, but we'll always have that goal against Villa. TK, it takes Arsenal 14 minutes to take the lead in this game. I was watching it here with Lawrence. We know the style that Coventry got promoted with. Were you surprised with just how much they tried to play football here?
Maybe a little bit, but they didn't mind mixing it up. They did kind of miss out the midfield a few times to Ellis Sims. I thought they started bright as well. I didn't think they looked overawed by it at all. But they it was one of the harshest lessons of Premier League football in that literally the very first mistake, bang, goal. So yeah, they probably treat that as a free hit, I think, and gone on to the next one, I would imagine.
Yeah, Carragher said pre-game that that's definitely a future England manager in Frank Lampard, and almost...
He's got a lot of friends in the media, Frank.
It's almost I can't really float. See, he's saying it while I 90% of the time disagree with what Jamie Carragher's saying as well. So didn't feel great about it. That being said, we look sharp. I ended the game actually feeling like we were quite wasteful in it. I know everyone is quite keen to make sweeping statements after one game. I think this is as simple as we had our best attacking players out there, and on top of that, all of those players have had a few weeks rest. Ben White up that right touchline makes a huge difference. Odegaard dropping in, Declan Rice being able to drive with the ball, Saka making that kind of out-to-win run, Havertz being in over Gyökeres, cannot underestimate what a difference that makes. And Solis keeping the left-hand side honest, basically, was paramount. I don't think, Jack, that this was a shift in mentality because we were champions, which Jamie Carragher kind of suggested after the game. I don't know if you feel that, if there was anything more to it than...
The opener is always difficult to kind of pin like you said, a sweeping statement on. I would be very G'd up if I was Arsenal after watching last week and then this week. So I think it's a continuation of... you smashed Coventry by the same margin you smashed Man City, so things are trending in the right direction. And I think the whole thing last season was the way that you won it towards the end was seen as kind of a bit anti-football. If you can kind of maintain that solidity, but then add this amount of attacking flair, which you've shown against Coventry and Man City, I sat there after that game more worried than I was last season. I didn't think you were going to do it last season. I do worry now that, oh dear, these guys look like they mean business. And if you look at, we'll come on to the other games, but if you look at just the transfer business, I think it probably leaks ahead as well of what other teams have done strength-wise. So I think you probably had, that's the way you'd want to start a season. No injuries, 3-0 in front of your home fans, bit of a victory lap. Perfect.
No drama as well, wasn't it? It was a no drama sort of performance, which they did kind of, in your mind's eye, this is how Arsenal Coventry goes, but we know those games don't always play out, and it was almost to the book, really. 3-0, no real problems.
Pull that a little bit closer. I usually tell you not to touch it. There we go. I think the way we were playing, it's one of them where on another day it gets to 30 minutes and Arsenal fans are kind of saying, oh, this is very annoying. You've got to take your chances when you're on top like this, but as you say, first couple of mistakes they made, we punished it very quickly. And I referenced it there. I think you can directly link good football at Arsenal to Havertz being up top and bad football to Gyökeres being up top. It's interesting that he doesn't get off the bench in this game, but I did want to highlight something Gary Neville said after the game. He spoke about the possibility of Julian Alvarez coming in and how he differs to Kai Havertz. And whether he meant this or not, I can tell you, I could look down the lens, whatever. Julian Alvarez coming in would not be there to replace Kai Havertz. Kylian Mbappe could come in, it would not be to replace Kai Havertz. He'd be playing on the left. If Erling Haaland came in, Arteta would have him up top with Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz is the Mikel Arteta player. And I do think he's one of those that I think every team has. Maybe you don't even realise the importance of them until they're out of the team. And I think every season you do go in thinking you can upgrade that player, and then you start to see a different player in there and there's no chance of it. And just the way he brings everyone else in, the way he gets involved. I picked him, you weren't here for this last week, outside of Haaland to win the Golden Boot this season. He's one up on Haaland already. So
if he's finishing like this every week, then fair play, because it's a sharp finish.
I think he can do that. It's the ones where he's running through on goal is where you start to think. There was one against West Ham a couple of seasons back where we were like 4-0 up and then they made it 4-3 or 4-2 on half time and it looked a bit hairy. Where I was thinking, oh no, I don't feel great about this. And he tucks it away like he does it every single week. I don't want to see him in midfield. That's my panic really, is if we did sign one of these players, I don't think we're going to sign Haaland, by the way, that to keep him in the team, he does drop back or do something a bit different.
Yeah.
Vinny is there to stay now, and I've seen some of the abuse he's getting. They're tied to that. And Mbappe, maybe. But no, Havertz, just what a difference he makes. And as I said last week, if we can keep him fit 70% of the season, is a different season.
The problem is, even if you're not as high on Kai Havertz as you are, for example, that the fairly obvious difference is you've got to go something more like for like. Even if you accept you're not going to get something like for like, but the backup probably has to do something more like the job he can do. Gyökeres just can't do that. It's clear. He kind of, other than being able to twat a ball, he can't do a huge amount, to be fair. So Yeah, in terms of, if you were looking for a backup to him, someone to rotate in, it's someone who can do more of those things. Obviously, as you said, if it's Julian Alvarez, for example, he may well be that he starts on the left and comes in. But you could easily rotate him in there. Like I said, if you want to save Havertz minutes or whatever, he can do that job through the middle. He can drop in, link up play. He brings a lot more of that to the table. I mean, it's a City one. He's obviously just a much better player than someone like Gyökeres as well. But I mean, that type of, so even I didn't even mind it sometimes when here and there when you drop Trossard in there, just because I felt I get the skill set here, even if it's not perfect. Whereas, yeah, like someone Gyökeres coming in for him, he can't do that, can he?
I was going to use it as my bold prediction last week, but compared to the other things I said, it didn't feel that bold. So I'll say it now. I think Mikel Merino plays more minutes up front this season for Arsenal than Victor Gyökeres does.
Fucking hell.
Merino is probably the closest thing to what Havertz can do in our team at the moment.
Probably is true, but it's bold.
At the start of last season, that was happening. He was coming on and he was playing. I remember at Forest, he came on up front when we assumed something different was going to happen. I just think if the options are there, it's all well and good Arteta talking about patience with Gyökeres and look, it's for us to change it. You have to say that when you have one other alternative. When you have 2 or 3 other players you can play there, all of a sudden, I think the selections will speak for how he really feels.
I just said even not bringing him on was a bit.
Maybe it's just going to be one game, or maybe it's with Martinelli, and I'll speak a little bit more about that. With Martinelli, they've clearly said, we're not going to play him because we want you to go. And they're pretty sure they can get rid of him. The Gyökeres one, maybe you don't take that chance if you think there's a chance he's still going to be there. And if something a bit more concrete happens, then you do it. And so this is as close as you can do it, saying, have a little look. Yeah. But you can then plead ignorance yourself and say, no, it was just a selection on that day. I don't think this was Odegaard's best game, but the intent was there. He gets his goal somehow.
Keep it in a solid.
Well, aside when he hit the shot, and then the difference between having like pure HD and something a bit less is, God, it went in. The question I'll ask you first, TK, if you had Arsenal's best interests at heart, which I'll trust you to have for the next couple of minutes,
okay,
and you could guarantee that they'll have one of Odegaard or Eze at their best for the entire season, which of those options takes them further?
Tricky because I do love Eze as well. But if Odegaard's at his best, I think the team kind of transforms a little bit. I think he hasn't been at his best for a couple of years now. If he is, then he's one of the best in the league. He's creatively, you've seen obviously last week and this week to some extent. I think if he doesn't have as good a game as he has in the Community Shield, we probably view this as a better game. But because you're almost comparing week on week, all the things he can do, if he can do it more regularly, Arsenal fans must be very frustrated with him because he can pass as good as anyone really, in terms of that, the killer pass, certainly. Should get more goals as well. This is one of the worst strikes he'll ever have, and he scored with it. But so many times he looks up, should shoot, doesn't, or at times he'll shoot, and it's not good enough. So, but if he's at his absolute best, like he was from a couple of years ago, then Arsenal are probably a better team to watch as well if he is, because he's technically a good player. And I would go with him.
This was the first game in over 2 years that Saka, Odegaard, and White have all started together.
Mm-hmm. Real throwback.
And that was, the three of them were a partnership in their making things work. And so you take one out, it's quite easy to see that if you take Havertz out, put Madueke in there, if you take Odegaard out and put whoever it's going to be in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll assume some of that is also because Timber was playing right back. So that's,
Odegaard probably the issue in there. But even just White is a better attacking fullback than Timber is. If you're looking for us to be a better attacking side, that's what probably Arteta should have done, and maybe Timber would be here right now.
Yeah, and I do wonder if that might be the lesson learned from all this with Timber, is that against teams that should be sort of bottom half of the table, you look at playing Ben White, and against those games, the bigger games and Champions League, maybe you go with Timber. It certainly looks like he trusts White more now than I think he did at one point. And it looks like White trusts his body a little bit more as well. I think you and other Arsenal fans were a little bit like, the injuries have kind of done him now. Whereas it looks like he's got at least a little bit left to give.
I think you need someone assured in there next to him. You need someone quick in there next to him. I wouldn't like to see him and Mosquera as a partnership for too long. Mosquera is still going to grow. I think he's going to be
I thought he was really good at this.
Once I've seen you be shaky, unfortunately, it sticks with me for a considerable period.
There's one where he presses someone and then wins the tackle, and the crowd celebrated almost like a goal because it was one where it was a 60-40 in favour of the attacker, and he won it. And you could tell sort of the fans were kind of looking at lifting him as well.
I'm remembering there was that crazy game we had with Brentford last season where there's a one-on-one for Thiago and he gets back and scoops around and tackles cleanly. He needs time. I don't think you want him being the centre-back for
the irony is, I imagine Conte's going to come in and take his place, isn't he, in the short term?
That's where I think it'll be interesting as to who plays right back then.
What do you do?
Do they go with White or Mosquera? And Mosquera is going to get games. I'm sure of that. And whether they put Conte in straight away, I think perhaps if they knew he was going to be sold, he'd had 2 days of training at the point with which we bought him. He'd be given extended time off. So we had Rice and Saka in that back in, and Conte's still off. So maybe a bit of something in that. Solis followed up a positive start in the Community Shield with a positive performance here, I guess. He looks exciting. I do think the final pass could do with a bit of work, but if I know the decision-making's there, then that goes a long way for me. Odegaard, I think his final pass was quite poor in this game. The weight of it just wasn't what I would like it to be. He looks exciting, and I think we do need an injection of pace. I think him, Saka and Havertz could have issues if we were playing a team that was really, really compact and we were trying to get something in behind with. I think he's got the technique to do it, but I do think I'd like something a bit different to bring on that even Eze comes on for him in this game, and Eze's not offering that pace in behind that Solis is, and Solis would probably beat Eze in a foot race. So
he's quicker than I thought in this, but like you said, he's not lightning quick, is he?
Well,
the fans love him already, though. That's clear.
I read something from a Belgian journalist, and they were saying this incredibly positively, and it didn't read that way when I first took it, that said, if he can avoid taking his man on, then he will. And I saw a kind of compilation, and he'll just fizz that pass in, or he'll get the cross in as soon as the opportunity opens itself up. And he didn't look shy of taking his man on either of these first two games so far. But if there's an awareness that there's a certain winger in our team that will run blindly into traffic, if he's going to do the opposite of that and look for the pass before he does it, and then perhaps spin in behind, I think that goes a long way to trying to break down a team. So positive so far. I'm just kind of tempering expectations because one, it's 2 games. The fact that he started his preseason sooner, I wonder how much of, say, the Community Shield was just that he was fresher than who he was up against and who he is. And just someone in their first season in England, unless they're coming in as a superstar, you don't want to have superstar expectations on them. So I'd like someone to offset that, and whether that's going to be Eze, whether it's going to be Martinelli, whoever it's going to be. I wouldn't trust him to carry the whole load all season, basically.
No, not at all.
And then lastly, because I don't think there's too much to say about this game, to be honest, in a weekend where United have lost to Hull, Spurs have been beaten 3-0, I'll happily give up some of the time on this occasion.
Charitable.
I did want to mention Ian Wright, who I've said on here a few times I do find to be quite annoying, and I know that is sacrilege to most Arsenal fans. My issue is I find him particularly annoying when he's in the company of Neville and Carragher, because I do think, and we've all seen people do this, he plays to the crowd, I think. I think he sees both of them be particularly negative about their teams and almost feels like if he's been accused of toxic positivity in the past, he's going to do the opposite of that and he's not going to get that accusation. And I don't need the toxic positivity. I don't need him to provide that. But after a 3-0 win to start the season, he speaks about Martinelli being left out of the squad, and he said it made him uncomfortable. He said he didn't like it, and he said he doesn't know what's going on. Now, every journalist close to the situation, both in Brazil, both in England, has said Arteta made Martinelli aware ahead of the Community Shield that he wasn't in his plans this season and that he should look for a move away. And so it does strike me that he's read a couple of things on Twitter, probably seen the same videos that I have, and has gone with that after the game, and that gets picked up. That's one of the leading stories on Sky Sports News after the game. And it turns out he was aware. He's been negotiating with Saudi Arabia at the same time. He's more than aware of what's going on. So when he was on other shows and he's kind of celebrating, even though I thought the celebrating was a bit much what he did previously. So maybe I'm the wrong audience, but I don't know. I thought there was unnecessary after the game when it's the champions returning home. There's so much other things to take away from that game without that being a thing. You can even talk about him being out of the squad. I think he can contribute more than Eze can on the left wing. I think he can do this or that. Saying stuff blindly because people assume that he knows when he's saying things.
Yes.
If he doesn't, then yeah.
Yeah, it did seem that video, obviously, of Martinelli and Ranieri during the Community Shield did the rounds.
I'm not saying it's nice.
And it doesn't look great. And obviously, Martinelli's been a part of this whole Arsenal journey for the last few years.
Yes.
So it does feel a little rough to kind of go, right, we're done with you, get out. So if that's the point Ian Wright was trying to make, but maybe overdid it, I kind of get it. I think that one of the problems he does kind of have is he's kind of become the guy for the players. And so any argument, he kind of just has to go down the road of, I'm going to fight for the player. Even if in this case it comes down to against Arsenal. If it's for another club, it's quite easy for him to do. But on this, it's just, I'm going to blindly support the player no matter what. And like I said, if you don't know the situation, then that can kind of lead you down a road. He also obviously, I think it's clear, has relationships with some players at Arsenal, which, you know, whether you like his analysis or not, like Carragher doesn't anymore with Liverpool. He's made that pretty clear. I think Neville probably doesn't anymore at this stage. So you can kind of come at things a touch more objectively, right? It does become a lot more difficult if you've got some sort of relationship with the players like Wright seems to.
I think if I'm Aaron Ramsdale, I'm watching that, I'm thinking, hang on a minute, where was this a few years back? I'm thinking if I'm Emil Smith Rowe, I'm thinking, hang on a minute, where was this a few years back when my corner was there needing to be fought? There was one man doing it, however. But I don't think it's that unusual. I guess it is maybe more so.
It's sudden. This feels sudden only in that he's gone from being either starting or coming off the bench last year to you're not getting into squad, get out. Whereas in those cases, you'd go Ramsdale, Wright was on the wall once Rice came in and was starting. Smith Rowe, had plenty of time in terms of being moved in and out of the squad. So this kind of feels like, right, I'm done with you. You're dumped. But again, that is kind of
I'm
football
sure
at times.
It probably was quite quick. I think Andrea Berta is under a lot of pressure this summer to sell players. That's one of the mandates he was brought in to do. I mean, two big parts of that job, buying players, selling players. In terms of buying players, and maybe some things will come out about this in a couple of months' time, it's reported that Josh Kroenke had to get involved to get the Bruno deal over the line. It's reported that he had to get involved with the Eze deal, and he got involved with the Konsa deal to get the Konsa deal over the line. If I'm Andrea Berta, there's maybe some pressure coming on my doorstep. And so I imagine they probably wanted to sell a certain way, and we've got to 2 weeks left in the window. And he's probably politely said, fuck off. I imagine he saw a list of players, like the amount of money I brought in for us when I did our Director of Football podcast a few months back, every summer, and I thought they were conservative numbers that I was leading with. He probably saw Martinelli, Odegaard, Nwaneri, Lewis Skelly, all these names, and thought, so we might even break even this summer.
Yeah.
And then he's seen Hamburg won't pay 12 million for Fabio Vieira. West Ham have agreed a deal for Reece Nelson, but they're trying to see if they can get Harvey Elliott first. 3 million they're willing to pay for Reece Nelson, by the way. So I wouldn't maybe pay too much
1.5
for Harvey Elliott. And at this point, there's probably a pressure that everyone every summer looks and says, Oxlade-Chamberlain's their record sale.
Mad.
And to not be able to break that, I think he probably has had to have a word with Arteta and say, look, I appreciate maybe you'd like to do this a different way. This might damage it if I can't get the sale over the line, but I've got enough indicators to think I can, and we probably need to give him a little nudge. He's turned down the Turkey move. Saudi one's on the table now. We need to get some cash in.
I think that's another one. It doesn't seem clear that the player wants out as well as the other thing. So it looks a little bit like it's being pushed out.
And they've since said that he's getting a significant raise on the 200 grand a week he's on at Arsenal. So maybe that does sweeten things a little bit.
Yeah.
The fact we'll get less money than West Ham got for Somerville, not ideal, but I imagine Somerville wasn't on 200 grand a week, so it has to even out somewhere. Last question, I think Jack kind of answered it from his perspective, so I'll just finish with you, TK, and then we'll talk about the next game. Should Arsenal fans get carried away off the back of this?
Maybe not off the back of this, but on the back of everyone else's performance, yeah, probably. I'd probably go, yeah. It's kind of sort of if anyone's ever watched Arrested Development, you are Bateman, and the league is just everyone else. You're the only one who's kind of vaguely stable. Everyone else is just off the chain.
For a few seasons now, though, I have seen Man City slip, and then they win 2 games. You look at the table and go,
Still
how are they like 1 point behind us?
They've got a different bold bastard in the dugout now, though.
All right, Jack, let's talk about getting mauled by the Tigers. I think this is as optimistic as I've seen United fans in quite some time leading into this season.
It's great, isn't it?
Mbeumo had that chance early when Mendy ducked for some inexplicable reason at the back post. But after that, it got pretty hairy for them, no pun intended, after Mbeumo. There was the McBurney header. There was a cross that troubled Lamans. And then he makes another crazy save, really, from the corner before Ajayi smashes it in. Mendy makes it 2 just after. And it never really felt like United were in the game, even with the amount of the ball that they had. So almost everyone was looking at United signings, and they pointed out that they'd signed talented midfielders, but there was a lack of athleticism running through the middle. Let's talk about the chant first, actually. Mauled by the Tigers. So I got my brother around to watch it. He brought my nephew, who's a United fan as well. And when it panned to the crowd, he's like, what are they doing? And I was like, you're getting mauled by the Tigers. And seeing that, first of all, head would be on Mars. When the commentators are cracking up going, they've just announced that the trains are cancelled back to Manchester.
Honestly.
So good. I think when I first saw it, I thought this is the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my life. But the more I see it, and seeing it up close yesterday, if they'd done that to us, which is quite possible that they will this season.
I'm terrified. I'm loving it. We are prime prey to get more by the Tigers.
And I look over to the away end, and I just see all these arms going. My head will be the hottest it's ever been. I don't think it will ever cool down. It will go Red Dwarf and just supernova. So from that perspective, it's fucking brilliant. Because I was doing it to someone in the pub, and in the pub we had it on our phones, watching it on Saturday. And we saw a group of United fans like across the way from us, all in United tops, and we were all just giving it this, like completely silent.
4 grown men.
Yeah, which after 5 pints is quite funny.
Yeah, hello.
Sober. Yeah, sober, maybe not. So I think it's brilliant. It's like the Bradford one.
Yeah,
like that.
Well, that's just a single bloke.
Yeah, where he cycles through 12 different emotes, and you're just there like. Some of these are absolutely brilliant. It's the dart and then in the wink with his finger.
Into a thumbs up.
Into it. Like that. Just so good. There has to be people that specifically ask for their season ticket to be right on the dividing line between fans, and they must just practice in the mirror before the game. Yeah. How am I going to get under these?
When I pointed out what it was like a brilliant. What can I do about this? As my nephew saying, what are we supposed to smash these?
Oh God!
The first person to do that action, by the way, is Bold. I want to know patient zero for Mauled by the Tigers.
Mauled by the Tigers.
You're definitely
just
doing
some one guy just doing this.
This will take off.
Yeah,
just everyone follow me. Yeah, trust me.
You're definitely doing it like jokingly. I'm convinced 90% of the people that say "bruv" said it as a joke first on the end of everything they say.
True.
I said bruh in person to someone the other day.
Bruh.
Just typing that out on WhatsApp and just building up the repetition.
Yeah. Almost anyone who's ever said sick in a good term was mockingly saying sick and then found themselves saying it, I'm pretty sure.
I do like a strategically placed brother.
I say Pang Munch way too much, so if we've got a real issue going right the way through.
Yeah.
As I was saying, so that middle of the park, hyped up, 35 million bargain for Tielemans, 50 million. Look at the other players and what they're signing for. Andre Santos, controller in that middle of the park. Kobe Mainoo on the bench. And Bruno Fernandes, player of the year. So stacked coming into this game. And then all of a sudden, Hull, at least until they go 2-0 up, decide they're not going to sit there block right back on the edge of their area. They're going to push it onto United's midfield and say, you ain't getting through us. They do that very, very well. There's one run that McBurney makes where he twists Tielemans out of his boots, skids through someone else, and then plays a crossfield ball. And you thought...
I shook my head. I was in like Scooby-Doo character. This can't be Ollie McBurney. What?
There was 2 or 3 occasions of players just nipping in front of the United players, just being quicker.
They were second to pretty much everything, weren't they, throughout United?
And then all of a sudden, you've got people saying, what the hell, Tielemans can't move. Bruno, what's he throwing his hands in the air for? He should be getting involved. He should be the one controlling this game.
He was getting some flack online.
I just wonder how superhuman is Baleba? He's expected to come in and fix this.
I think the main issue here is they keep signing final third midfielders and expecting them to play as sixes. I know Andre Santos played the majority of his time for us in that kind of pivot role, but he was also next to Caicedo for most of it, and he was getting minutes at the end of... Because the reason why I wasn't getting minutes at Chelsea is because he wanted to play further forward in Cole Palmer's position.
He had that period under Maresca, didn't he, where he was playing...
He played a bit.
And then he came under, what's his name? Worst Chelsea manager ever.
Oh, that's Rosinha.
And he wanted to have him in the team as well. And so there was at least a feeling that this is what he's supposed to do, because he'd used him there at Strasbourg.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was playing football further forward in Strasbourg, but it was just, they keep doing it. They keep recycling. They keep thinking, if we just put Bruno back there, he'll control midfield. And it doesn't really seem how it works.
The issue was that he wasn't. He was standing in this pocket that the ball was never going to get to, and looking to the 2 guys behind saying...
But that's my point. Yeah, it's just... If I'm asking for a team to control a game physically, Andre Santos and Tielemans aren't my guys for that.
No.
And when you get twisted out your boots by McBurney, by the way, every time he would play one of those passes, and he did play quite a few of them.
Oh,
I was watching him after he started having a good game, and he was putting his head down and giving it to Jorginho to get forward. Just like absolutely pumping and going nowhere. So if you're getting run over by him...
That's where the out of possession stuff comes in, isn't it? Because the idea from United's perspective is they're going to have so much of the ball against this whole side with those 2 in there that they're not going to have to worry about that. And what they do have to worry about, they're content with their backline behind, which is a whole other story, that they can deal with it. And unfortunately, they had a lot of the ball, but not in the right areas to be able to do anything with it. We could have had 60 minutes added on. It wasn't going to make a difference for them coming back in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you couldn't really get over how comfortable Hull looked. In terms of not having a threat from United, but also like in possession, when they had the ball, they looked like they were playing around, and like I said, they didn't mind going direct where they needed to. But it wasn't just as you've touched on there, like sit in backs to the wall job. Not until right near the end where they really did that. For the most part, they were still creating chances as well. Everything we've heard about Hull coming into this season, their stats in the Championship, I know they spent a bit of money, but also you look at it and you go, they shouldn't have the quality to be able to sort of play with these teams. The fact that United had plenty of possession but didn't do anything with it, and in the meantime, Hull probably had a touch more possession than you might have expected and created more. I don't know. Yeah, it's a bad look at the very least. You can kind of say that for United.
I think there were 2 forwards that had standout performances this weekend. One of them was McBurney and one of them was in the Newcastle game. The fact that Hull did have 34% of the ball and McBurney was offering an out ball for the keeper. He got to the back post for Slater's corner that sets up the first goal. Forces the save from Lamens, which Majay gets the tap in with. Out of possession, he stood on Santos basically and stopped him being able to do anything. Just a hell of a performance from him. And just for a team that I don't know too much about, that it was ringing around in my ears that only a week before TK tipped them for a record low points total this season, and very well might still be on. We don't know really how good they are because they played United.
3 points is a decent start when you've got to beat 11. Yeah, that's a good start, I got to say.
But yeah, a couple of other things from this game. Rashford returned. Do we think he made an impact?
I thought he showed some intent and was more direct. But, you know, I mean...
They completed one dribble in the first half. So you can see why they're bringing him on. The selection was wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Cunha being up front, Dorgu on the left wing. I had a text from Connor after half an hour saying, I don't want to see Dorgu on the left wing or Cunha up front again this season.
Certainly not in a game like this, no. But then individually, Cunha and Buemo, Dorgu, they all had stinkers as well, I thought. You know, as much as, you know, we can say about selection or whatever, individually, just, they weren't good enough, I didn't think either.
Rashford can't be holding the bench for Dorgu again on the left wing.
No.
No.
The reaction was weird. Maybe we'll know more when he comes on at home, and maybe being shown how bad the other option can be is a good thing for him before they go back home, and maybe they'll have a bit more appreciation for him when he does come on, because we really don't know how Old Trafford is going to be with him yet. Bruno did speak after the game. He said, same mistakes as we did last season, every away game. We give too much of the ball to them. I think they have in the beginning of the game, first 20 minutes, the whole goalkeeper was the one who had the most touches on the ball. They had too much time. I think we need to press a little bit more. We need to be a little bit more aggressive. Basically, everything was wrong. Aside from chance creation, I kind of pick up when I read that there. The pressing from the strikers was bad. The defending from the defenders was bad. The pressing from the front was bad.
I mean, I don't have the stats on this. This is just purely eyeball, but they look a very, very short team now, especially the one that lined up yesterday. Defence looked short, midfield looked tiny. And I know that tallness isn't everything, height isn't everything, but when you're playing a newly promoted team and you don't really want to give anything up in the air, especially where their goals come from, wouldn't you try and get some more height in there? Is it that simple?
Saw that clip of the first goal and it was captioned, Maguire's holding Mazraoui, and I thought, there's no way. And when I watched him, he is holding him.
Yeah.
I thought the biggest part of this game, I thought it's probably being extrapolated up to all these other issues that United may or may not have. I thought in this game they just didn't come equipped for a battle. This was away at a promoted side on the first game is a nightmare. It's always going to be. And they came out thinking it was going to be just a regular game, even like a pre-season game in terms of the pace they were playing it at. And they got punched in the face and they never recovered from it. We're going to talk about another game later on where a team did, I think, very similar things. And so some of the stuff you guys are talking about, I think, probably will come to light as the season goes on. I thought this was as simple as a team that just wasn't ready for it.
Well, from the jump I saw, the headlines after is, this is what happens when you hire a caretaker manager permanently and all of these kind of things. We really don't know how United are going to be this season, but if they had some transfer plans, they had some money set aside, I do wonder if that's going to be shifted now into maybe another midfielder on top of Baleba. I don't know what they're going to do, but I don't know where they can kind of firm up, because that was clearly an issue. And I looked at the bench and say, would Mainu instead of Tielemans changed anything in that game physically? I don't think it would have. So I don't know what they're going to do. Another left back looks to be what they need. I think if there was any chance of it, Peter Schmeichel might have fucked that them yesterday.
What was he doing?
I don't think it's particularly news. I've been saying he's a prick for a good period now.
I'll just assume that's your opinion of everyone.
Yeah, it's going to say. Imagine if you just listened to this is the first time you ever listened to this podcast. So this guy hates everybody. Yeah.
He's picked a fight with Ian Wright and Peter Schmeichel today.
Ian Wright's not a dislike. Ian Wright's an annoyance.
I've done drive-bys on Neville and Carragher in the process of saying that. So just everyone's just getting
that might endear me to people before I've gone for someone else. Maybe before I've gone for Ian Wright, that's an issue. Then afterwards, no, I think if you are someone that isn't a United fan, this is what you assume a United legend to be. We'll just take your players and we'll do what we want and stop wobbling.
Yeah, I know. I keep listening.
But you hear it all the time on Stick to Football, don't you? Keane and Neville will just talk about players like United can still have the pick of them. It's like those days are gone. That's not happening.
I remember them doing it when we signed Declan Rice, and Neville was like, "Why don't United get Declan Rice?" And it's like, why the hell would he have gone to you based on everything we've seen right now?
If he doesn't go to Arsenal, he's going to Man City. He's not going to go to United.
A couple of things with the 3 p.m. slate. I watched the Everton game. They look really good. Palace also looked really bad. Then found out after that Mateta's trying to tear up his contract, which
explains his finishing, doesn't it? Jesus
maybe it explains that a little bit. Anytime I see like a movement where I want to go to bat for Eddie Nketiah, he's like, he immediately knows that I'm going to do that and says, just make this a bit trickier. Turn this one onto the post or wide of the target or whatever it's going to be. An observation a lot of people have made is that James Trafford sounds like Kel the Dragon, which is a big thing I've seen on my timeline this weekend. Not the most intelligent fellow. And Oliver Glasner maintained an unwanted record, becoming Forest's 5th consecutive manager to lose his first Premier League game in charge.
Bounce.
Okay, Brentford-Tottenham. Much like Man United, Spurs fans entered this season full of hope, full of excitement, and it can get ripped away from you ever so quickly. This one was never really a contest. I was one of the few people who picked Brentford in our predictor. TK, you did not.
I thought a draw.
You were reeled in by De Zerbi.
Well, I thought a 2-2 draw, so I don't know how reeled in that necessarily is. But yeah, I thought there'd be action. I thought Brentford would bring what they normally do, and I did think coming into the first game of the season, Spurs would look up for it. There's an atmosphere around the club of enthusiasm for the first time in a while. I thought that you assumed would kind of permeate onto the pitch a little bit. Now, when I saw the starting 11, maybe I might have gone, I wish I could take the prediction back.
I changed mine 5 minutes before kickoff.
Really? Yeah. Maybe I should have done. But yeah. But, you know, we'll get into it. But if I thought United weren't ready for a fight, then these lot definitely weren't.
After I've just accused Schmeichel of making it all about the big clubs, if I just do the same for just a second, I haven't looked at the fixture list. Seeing Brentford play in Europe would have been fun in the same way that it was watching Portsmouth back in the day or whoever else, Fulham and whoever else is going to be. I think in terms of keeping things interesting at the back end of the season when so many teams have checked out, seeing Brentford on the fixture list for a team that you're in competition with no European football for them to compete with is still a very interesting thing. The idea of that being a fixture late in the season and them playing away in Europe on a Thursday before would just take away something that is one of those grounds that you don't want to be heading to.
Good point.
Later on.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one, never really a contest. Richarlison, Tell and Moore started as the front line for Tottenham with Conor Gallagher in behind. They're not going to get very far with that,
that
are
is
they?
vile, isn't it? Like, spend whatever money you want. If you can't do better than that, that's...
Savinho and Marmouche, the way they're celebrated probably tells you how we would maybe all feel if we were watching that front line week in, week out. De Zerbi gave 4 players their competitive debuts. Andy Robertson, Jean-Paul Van Hecke, Marco Senesi and Sandro Tonali in the midfield. Bergvall started next to Tonali, who I wonder if they'll regret rejecting bids of just under 50 million for a couple of weeks back. Fernandes came on at half-time but made no real difference. De Zerbi, it looked like, picked a team packed with technical quality, much like United had tried to do, against an opponent known for being as physically dominant as any team in this league. And De Zerbi knows this. I saw the stat, this was his 5th time playing against them in the Premier League. He's beaten them once. Brentford won 12 of the first 18 first-half aerial duels. 64% of their long passes found a teammate. This was just a team in Tottenham that weren't equipped, even with whoever they had out there, to play against this Brentford side.
No, I did look at the options available to Spurs, and you kind of look at it, you think I was probably brought in Bentancur in the midfield, shores it up a little bit. But outside of that, I don't think there's a huge amount of options to beef the team up, as you've touched on there. And so at that stage, I'm not really sure what you can do. You know, we just spoke about the attack not being good enough. The back four is entirely new back four if you consider Archie Gray's being put out of position on right back and captain as well, which, you know, tells you something about where you're at. Senesi and Van Hecke are obviously new, and Robertson on left back. So it's an entirely new back four with Kinski in goal, who's, you know, got had a handful of games towards the back end of last season with mixed success. So you kind of all over it's kind of either unbalanced or lacking experience certainly playing together, and they're kind of throwing it together a little bit, and it's going to have to figure it out.
The situation with Kinski feels a lot similar to the situation with Onana at Man United. It's like, just because he's not De Gea or just because he's not Vicario doesn't mean he's the right choice to be your goalkeeper. He's still a rubbish goalkeeper. They are not doing anything with him in goal. There can be, maybe you look at one of these goals, every single game he only parries it into the middle of the goal. He never parries it around the corner.
But the second goal, which obviously Bergvall gets the most stick for, I do still think the keeper can help him out here.
Even just,
But because he just palms it straight into the path of the attacker.
the Sangari one he does the same for.
I'm going to sound very much like a footballer played in like the 70s or whatever, but if the keeper is wearing a cap there, he probably isn't blinded by the sun and does that.
Yeah.
But because it's not fashionable to do it, he's just gone, no.
The fact he does it all the time
Chris
tells me
Cookman
it's
kind
not.
of worries has ruined that for people, I would say.
Chris Cookman killed the cap.
Yeah, he did. Genuinely.
But you're asking him to play it into Richarlison. Richarlison,
I mean,
who has never shown the ability to play with his back to goal, and you're asking him to receive it on the halfway line when no one around him, spin and play it into space. Obviously, they're going to bully him off the ball, and then they're in. Bergvall misses that challenge, and they get a shot away.
Yeah. I mean, what does Richarlison do? Because he's not really a huge aerial threat. He's not really that huge a threat running in behind. He can kind of do a bit of each of these, but none of them really.
But you know, as soon as he comes on against your team, he will score.
That is the
against you.
feeling, and now if you're a Liverpool fan, that kind of feels like
That actually does happen, actually, quite a lot. But the stats tell you it doesn't happen very much around the rest of the
Deserby
league.
said, some days he wants to leave, some days he wants to stay. He doesn't know what he's going to get with him.
What about Richarlison?
Yeah.
That's a great thing to hear, isn't it? Fucking hell.
And yeah, he still picked over Solanke, who they were listening to offers for earlier in the window. I think they just want to get some cash through the door. Let's talk a bit about Brentford, though, because this wasn't all Tottenham being bad. In theory, they should be so easy to prep for because they are only going to play against you one way. Mm-hmm. The issue is it's very hard to play against that way of that way of playing football. They rack up 4 XG on the day. I don't think any side in the Premier League amassed more in one game this weekend. That first goal, I think if you put a filter on it and ask people to guess the team, you'd be saying Arsenal, you'd be saying Man City with the quick passing around the area.
Yeah.
The second one, as I say, Sangare was involved all game, but this one isn't a great look for Kinski. If I ask you this, we went big on Reinders after 1 week of the Premier League last season. If we did the same for Sangare today, do you think it'll age better or worse than it did for Reinders?
You'll have to age better. It don't age much worse.
He looked fantastic here. Everyone was tuning in like, is this guy going to be as good as we heard from all of these other people all summer?
That's the thing. It's not like he hasn't arrived with some feeling this might be the case around it, right? All the talk was that it's going to be, how did Brentford get this guy? And in 12 months' time, a big club will be going, we should have done this. Okay, we're going to have to drop a big bag of money on him.
It's in a day where we started the day seeing United with 2 new midfielders. We've got Tottenham with 2 new midfielders on the pitch against him, and he's the guy that shines through.
I don't even know if he's necessarily what we need, and we should have done it. So it's just one of those. He was obviously a monster in this, but then you've kind of got players that just like turn up, like Shardo and Yana and stuff like that. They kind of seem to be able to rely on them week in, week out. They don't really get spoken about a huge amount. The main thing I was struck by in this game was that Brentford just had so little respect for Spurs in that they just said they were pressing so hard. The fullbacks just got right up. Coyote and Lewis Potter were just like, right, we are pressing right high up here. And they didn't mind taking any risk, maybe because they weren't worried about what was coming back. But instantly, it was like twofold. One, we're way more up for a scrap than you are. But also, they looked around and was like, they haven't got anything for us very quickly. And the worrying thing is both those fullbacks might be better than ours, which is a different story.
Remember some of the talk being in January that if Tottenham, if Liverpool could offload Salah at the time, then they were looking at Minter on that occasion or Kevin Sharder. And he obviously doesn't get that move this summer. He's not done quite enough to justify it for one of these clubs just yet. But yeah, maybe if he can have a big season this one, he won't be at Brentford next season. They've survived pretty well with some of their players. They haven't been picked apart really.
Not this year, have they?
No.
And the ones that they did get picked out of their team, they got a decent amount of money for, and haven't really missed them.
Oh, I mean, the job he did last year was a joke, really, in terms of I thought they were in big trouble. And yeah, like you said, this year, in theory, it should be a blessing that they didn't get European football, then they can have a real solid push this year. And you could probably try and push for the Europa League spot and see where you end up. It's probably what the aim would be.
Brad picked them to come 6th last week, and I think there was so much else going on that I didn't really pay much attention to it as he said
6th,
it.
Yeah.
I played the predictions back. Hang on a minute, I don't remember hearing that. There's the thing with Sangare as well, that whenever you see an action of a new player that strikes you as not just a defensive midfielder, your eyes are kind of, okay, he can do more than just smash into a tackle and spray it around the corner. And he has that volley that comes out from the corner that is tapped in by whoever taps it in. And he's got a shot on him as well. If only Thiago scored that penalty, I was rubbing my hands together at that point thinking 4-0 and we've got about half an hour to play. This is wonderful. And then Thiago, if the theories are true, remembers the Sky Sports cameras are on and that he can't score when he's on.
This has been 3 p.m. Spurs were in big trouble. He'd have had a hat-trick.
And off the back of this, one of the first things I thought was Spurs against Newcastle could be box office on Saturday night. 100%. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Should we wait to judge Spurs until all of their players are back, or should we stick the boot on them now and say, that money you've spent and this is what you're serving us up?
I mean, the theme of this weekend through all the matches, not just this one, but the theme has been, if you show any kind of neck to someone this season, it looks like everyone's just up for it. There aren't any whipping boys. Everyone's had a bit of a break off. Everyone's come back firing. There wasn't any really kind of nervy little cagey games. It was, right, if we draw blood, we're going for the jugular for lots of teams, which makes for a very exciting league, but also quite scary as well.
I think the message I took away was, whatever money you think your team needs to spend, they need to spend more. Particularly for that on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily judge them off this game in a similar way that, again, I think, like United, they didn't understand the assignment here. They didn't. Going away to Brentford is a tough game. First game of the season, they're going to be well up for this, and they just didn't look up for it, as well as getting selection wrong, and I think they're going to need some time with some of this. But also, you say wait till their players all get fit before judging them. Their players will never get fit.
Madison got injured again on Saturday.
They've got too many players where there's too much evidence that they are not going to stay fit.
Have you seen that one interview of Madison speaking about being asked to sit on the bench at the back end of last season?
Is it? Yeah, I've seen it. He did like a sit-down interview.
Yeah,
he did a few.
He says that the boss asked me to sit on the bench, and I've told him, Gaffer, I'm not fit just yet. I'm a bit of time away, but whatever I can do to help. And he says, he asked me to sit on the bench as a compliment. He obviously thinks managing can help the team. I'm not saying that's why we stayed up, obviously. But, it's a compliment. My energy, I do what I can because I want to help the team. So.
Yeah, I also heard him say about and the Gaffer just let us go for a couple of pints. Go for a couple of pints. Okay, it got a bit Brentish at times.
It loosens everyone up, doesn't it?
All right. My big concern, by the way, was looking at this, knowing Spurs have still, even coming into a season, an injury list pretty lengthy. Looked at the bench. They still got a better bench than we do. So how's that? I don't understand how this has happened.
Okay, before we touch on the Man City game, did either of you watch the Guardiola documentary that dropped last week?
I've seen clips.
I've seen enough because I feel like I have watched it, but no, I haven't watched the thing.
I've watched the last 2 episodes.
It's a bit. You should have watched the first 2, shouldn't you? Come on.
Well, I didn't want to be up till 2 a.m. I've been getting a bit carried away.
You didn't have to watch it in one batch.
Well, I've been getting a bit carried away on the Undisputed boxing game, and at this point, I'm undisputed at 2 weight classes now, and it's 2046. I'm a 47-year-old George Groves, but I've got just the touch of death in my right hand. So I need to tick off his achievement. I need to be dropped 4 times and go on to win the fight. And I just put the controller down yesterday thinking, go on, get out now, because you're getting torched in just a second. And then I'm oohing and ahhing, and we're trying to win it three divisions in before I'm forced to retire at 50 years old. So good luck to myself. But left myself some time to see the last 2 episodes of the Pep documentary, behind the scenes footage of those players going back in after the Bournemouth game last season, close up of Rodri, pale-faced, refusing to make eye contact with Pep, bag of minstrels in hand, just
Your hands, not Rodgers, I should say.
Yeah.
Taking it all in, and Haaland going back in the dressing room after they've beaten us at the SCI going, "Oh, it's coming," and it wasn't.
I bet this is the first time you've been able to actually be on the right side of one of these docs.
Yeah, I think you should have watched the first couple of episodes where City win the league, just, you know, to fully enjoy it. I think it was a bit cowardly to only watch the ones where you knew it's going to be Pep crying about his divorce.
Yeah.
I sat through
a man basically having a breakdown and not winning the league.
Yeah.
I sat through the Tottenham All or Nothing where they beat us. I sat through the Arsenal All or Nothing when Tottenham beat us. I sat through the City one where they beat us by 6. So I feel I've done
a little bit more wouldn't have hurt them.
I feel like I've done my bit with these. I probably will go back and watch them because I find it very interesting.
I did think you actually, from the clips I saw, actually got some insight for a change, which these dogs I rarely feel.
Let me say, them doing some investigative work and saying they come to the conclusion that Cherky isn't a piece of work. It's just some coaches from early in his career. Probably should have listened to the other guys. But hey. City left it late then in this game. An equaliser on 84 minutes and then a winner on 95 minutes. I'll get in front of it now with Maresca. If we lose a title race to this idiot, my goodness. He hasn't managed my team. He's only ever lost to my team, and yet I have such a dislike for him. Managers that think they're cleverer than they are, and it was an issue I used to have with my own manager, not so much anymore. Mark Gay in midfield. If you think you're doing the I'm sending a message to the ownership, you don't get to do that when you're Man City manager, I'm afraid.
No.
It's him already playing down, we can't be in a title race this season, it's a transition season. Get a pair of nuts about you if you're going to be the City boss. You're taking over from Pep. After the game, he's doing the grabbing Cherky thing on the pitch and doing the pointing around.
Which he's never done with any Chelsea player, by the way. First time I've ever seen him do that. He's ditched his I'm going down the gym attire that he wore for his whole time at Chelsea for a little kind of merino wool crew neck jumper under a blazer.
There was a strong feeling of when Brent comes in the suit, dressed the same as Neil, Sergio Giorgini. He's dressed like Pep. He's going to get someone. He's got Cherky there going, I'm not just going to say anything, but the cameras are on, so it's going to look like I'm giving you tactical advice.
I was annoyed for them seeing Rico Lewis at right back. Looking during the game and thinking physically, we're outmatched here. I'm thinking, you've got a Phil Foden, Rico Lewis right hand side. What left hand side? What did you think was going to happen here? Anyway, City will be happy with the points. I think if you're a Bournemouth fan, you take encouragement here that this didn't look like 10 steps back from Iraola.
No.
I didn't know Evan Nilsson had a cross like that in him, to be honest, for the goal that he sets up Tavernier with. I think the price we're going to see on Rayan come the end of this season, him and Alex Scott could be a crazy amount of money, and Alex Scott may still leave next week, but him getting up for that long ball, taking it down and laying it off was very impressive. And if you're an Arteta or if you are a manager that's going to try and play a mixture between some pretty football and some beefy football, I think he fits in there very, very well.
But obviously, we're in the market for attackers, and there was a feeling earlier in the summer that obviously the Iraola link, and that he might fit, even though it's a pretty small sample size we've got on Ryan, that he would fit. And they were like, wow, they reckon it'll cost about 100 mil this summer, so they won't do it. But next summer, he might be cheaper. It's like, what way is he going to be cheaper? He's going to have, if he has an unbelievable year in the Prem, his price is only going to go up.
World Cup call-up since then.
Yeah. Now, whether that's being said because there's something in his contract that his price will go down, so often these players end up obviously at these clubs and do negotiate that into the deal. But I don't know, that's what it is, he could have a big year.
It felt like there were a lot of the same issues that Pep found, the slacking out of possession, the lack of structure when pushing up, players that are ultimately just too weak, as I say. Foden and Lewis supposed to slide across when Gvardiol goes up, and there's just this massive gap in behind them that they're nowhere to be seen in. Another thing I picked out, and I thought this last season, they didn't concede from a set piece, but how whingy and pathetic Donnarumma is not a good feeling to transmit to your back four, particularly if they haven't all played together before. You're sulking and doing that much. If Kinski wants to do it the next time Tottenham are at a corner kick. If Vicario wanted to do it, it was like, you are weak as piss. I do understand you doing this. Donnarumma being this big bloke like this, it's so bad when I see him doing it and whinging. Referees don't seem to be paying as much attention these days to him because I think they quoted that the VAR had said in the ear of the referee that he just chucked himself to the floor then during one of them yesterday. But
I also think the refs just don't want to see a shit lid. It's like the worst lid I've ever seen.
Worse than Hösler?
I would genuinely say so because
close, isn't it?
at least Hösler's is probably going to come back. He just needs to. He needs to go one way or the other. I can't look at you, and I'm not going to be looking in for infractions back in VAR because I can't stand to look at you in real time.
Must be brutal going back to Italy as well. There's a lot of handsome blokes about.
Yeah.
Oh God.
This is a common misconception about Italy. For someone that's been there quite often, they're a bit like what Americans think about us: suave three-piece suits, umbrella canes, that kind of thing. I think of that with Italians, all like olive-skinned and linen shirts. They're just chaffs. All of them. They're all just bin liner wearing chaffs.
All chaffs.
And they all look like Donnarumma.
Right.
So actually, he fits right in. Genuinely.
Calafiori doesn't look like Donnarumma.
Yeah, but he may be the exception to the rule. If you go and look round an Italian town, they're all wearing Armani EA7 tight jeans, bin liner jackets, and look like Donnarumma.
And this is what you'll be wearing down the aisle next month.
Yeah.
These are the force of Jack Harper, not SpitballingPod.
Goalie gloves.
Yeah. Also got to point, this is now a recorded, this is video podcast, so people are going to be looking at us going, oh yeah, you
I'm just saying.
Handsome chap yourself.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I probably have a better
That's why he's growing his hair out. They had much of the day too yesterday after the Brighton game. Danny Murphy said something along the lines of, when looking at Hösler, with him and Joe Hart, this is the before and after. I thought, Hösler's thinking, I fucking hope not. I'm hoping I've got better than that after I've gone through this.
I'm sure, I think that's, what Danny Murphy's saying. Is he'd be self-deprecating, isn't he?
I'm saying Joe Hart. He wants a better after than Joe Hart.
Oh, right. Oh, wow.
I don't... was hair loss? I didn't even clock it last season, I thought it just...
That's, I guess, the time to do it if you're in a position that you can go into hiding until it's grown back.
Yeah.
That must have been a hairpiece or something last year. I don't understand. It looked like a full head of...
It was thick.
Yeah, good quality.
No recede, hairline fine.
If you said one man who doesn't need one of those this summer, I'd have gone with him.
Yeah.
Or Alexis McAllister for, game reasons.
I need us to play them before it's grown back. If he sees Arteta's hair on the touchline pre-game, he's going to be all over the place after that.
Maybe that's where that beef really lay. He knew at heart.
I think we did enough in that game to justify the beef, I'll be honest. I don't know that what I saw yesterday is fixed by adding Buadi or even Buadi and Enzo to it.
Definitely not. No. Look, I've kind of made my feelings about City coming into the season clear, and that includes if they get Enzo Fernandez. I don't think he adds
What about Cody Gakpo?
a lot to them. I mean, I didn't think I'd be in a position where I'm terrified of losing Cody Gakpo.
I was going to say, the last time we spoke about him was you and Sean both laughing at who doesn't want him, and now City are interested, like, hang on a minute, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they're seeing something that we're not.
No, I know he's our most reliable attacker. I'm clinging to him. Pathetic.
So Cherki's quite obviously at this point their best player after Haaland. They should be stacking themselves with monsters to play around him to just enable whatever deficiencies he has. And it's not like the deficiencies are hard to see. We all know he's pretty useless out of possession. He's going to drift. He's not going to stay where you want him to be. If you can have two blokes behind him, they can have Fernandinho and Rodri behind him, then they'd be pretty sound. Unfortunately, it looks like the direction they're going in isn't one that I think is going to suit him unless you play him from the left or right, which in that case, it doesn't suit him anymore. So I wonder how things are going to go with him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, to me...
The idea is Buadi can do that, and yet we saw one good game against Brazil, and maybe in a year's time he's great.
He's 18, isn't he? It's tough. I mean, if he can, then fair play. But yeah, the direction I'd be going, if I'm City, I've got two just beasts behind Cherki, then Haaland, Semenyo and Doku. So you've got the pace and the threat of them behind, the feet that Cherki shows when he comes on a little bit just tucked behind them, and you just accept. Like you said, there's going to be some issues, but they're way too easy to play against as it is. So it's not like by having him on the bench they're going right because we've got to be a little bit more solid and we can maybe open up a little bit as the game goes on. They were already easy to play through to begin this game.
I think the tricky thing is, if you were trying to look at it from a positive standpoint, you could say Haaland had one he should have had a diving header with early on. There's a Gay missed header that they decide to not mark him the first time he misses, and they say, just don't worry about it, we'll just do the same time and get another corner. There's a good 5 chances in there that on another day you can say, we put all of those in the back of the net, we win this game 5-1, and what's the issue? And so they're not in a position where I think you blow it all up. It's tweaking it, which I think is going to be the issue, and I wonder, Maresca seems more of a blow it up guy than he does a tweak it with what he's got there. And
definitely an overthinking guy as well.
He'll want his own imprint on it as well. For a couple of weeks of people saying he's just doing the thing Guardiola does, and I imagine he may do something and he'll just do something completely different just for the sake of it.
Yeah, I mean, Gay in midfield feels a little bit more like Stuart Pearce, David James up front than Guardiola, I've got to say. But there you go.
It's interesting when you go to the player as well, because I remember when they spoke to Mourinho after he played up front the first time, and he was like, "No, they didn't tell me about this. They didn't tell me about this until the day before." Very weird, but it's a lot of the same things. I'm just doing it further forward. Gay, they were like, "He's like, I don't get it either. I don't know why I was doing that either. It was news to me." So
they did say he trained on it in the week, though, didn't they? They said they had trained on it.
See if they do it again next week. Not a great Kluivert game. Those stocks have dropped a little bit more, so keep investing in the Kluivert stocks because they are going to go up eventually.
Well, the price is low.
And the Gvardiol one, it did feel like you weren't convinced it was offside as soon as it went in. And then as soon as you see a first replay, it was like...
I said the very first one.
And we're early enough in the season, I just texted my uncle and said, that's annoying.
Yeah. It's not devastating at this stage. No. It's just annoying.
Gvardiol just keeps cropping up every now and again. And oh my God, you're actually...
He's the closest thing to Calafiori in terms of you shouldn't be able to do that based on the position you play.
And wouldn't he be a better shout for playing in midfield? Would you not say?
Yeah, 100%.
Than Mark Gay in the same team.
Gvardiol, whose entire time in City has basically been, you look really good going forward, bit ropey defensively. Yeah. And he goes, no, you can stay back. Gay, you get in the field.
Yeah.
They've got Palace and Coventry as their next two before the Manchester derby, so... You'd think if you want to do some tinkering, those 2 games are going to be the ones to do it in because Palace were not good at all. Coventry, I imagine, aren't going to be much better. Fingers crossed.
I've just seen the Chelsea starting lineup, and it's 6 defenders plus Romeo Lavia in midfield.
Can see Lavia getting a start. Yeah. Nice.
Not much to say on the Villa game, so I think most of us were watching the City one at the same time, but I thought the biggest story coming out of it was Emery seemed to insinuate that Ollie Watkins refused to play. I would say I'm as big of an Ollie Watkins guy as anyone. TK, I would say you're very much not an Ollie Watkins guy. Would you have him down as the type to refuse to play? I feel with some players you can see it, and there's very few, but he just doesn't strike me as the type.
I mean, the way that it was worded was, you have to ask him that question. That's a question for him, which probably leads me to believe that he said, do this or you're not playing. And he didn't do this, so he said, well, you're not playing. And then that allows him then the wiggle room to say, well, you need to ask him.
What was he trying to get him to do?
Well, something, turn up to training, do this, do a job, something like that. Or,
somebody suggested.
Whoa.
No, it doesn't
get on that plane to the White House.
It doesn't feel like something I can imagine.
He doesn't seem the type, but also Emery's response to that was weird anyway. I mean, if he was looking to sort of quiet it down, he only made speculation more prevalent by doing
silence.
That. Yeah. But if he doesn't say
4-0 and you can shift the blame to someone else, then he's absolutely the type to do that.
Yeah. But then I imagine if Ollie Watkins, whatever comes of this, if he didn't refuse to play, then he will come out and say, I didn't do that because he want to protect his own professionalism. So if he doesn't, and Emery hasn't said anything, so he probably did refuse. He doesn't strike me as the type to do that, but I think we've seen any player, if pushed far enough, will do it because they've shown it's a proven method. It's not good, but it's been shown this will work. And he could have got a move to his boyhood club and then gone on and won the league, playing the Champions League. Didn't. In Villa's biggest games in the Champions League, he barely played. He's watched player after player leave and probably thought, well, hang on a minute. The only benefit of staying here was that I thought we were going to build something. We're not. I'm fucking out. The same as all these others. Now, I don't think it's right that if he thinks that way, then he then doesn't play. I think as a bare minimum, you have to turn up to work. I think that seems fair. But I think that's probably what's happened. I think he's probably looked at that and got a sulk on.
I do think the Arsenal one is a big one.
Yes,
and I don't think it's like if we sign Harry Kane and he can say, fair enough.
Yes. He'd be going, I'll be starting for you.
I could do that. I could do what he can do. And I think a thing that Villa fans don't seem to recognise, and I don't know if your timeline's been anywhere near similar to mine, they've really turned on him since the news.
Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, yesterday. I've seen some horrible things written about him.
Yeah.
The way that Watkins to Arsenal thing started was that Villa offered us Watkins for 60 million. We said, we'll give you 40 million for him. And they said, oh, we're about to play a game and you're offering us money for Ollie Watkins. That is a disgrace that you would do this. And we didn't engage any further. We saw it out, did what we did for the rest of the window and go and get Gyökeres in the summer. And so he knows they were prepared to get rid of him. They then didn't get rid of him to the place that he would have wanted to go.
Yeah.
And now, he's seen everyone else leave. And
even
this summer, I wonder if he thinks, maybe is there a chance I could have got there? I don't know.
Yeah, I bet his demeanour does look a little bit different, I think, ever since the Arsenal thing. He looked a bit... Imagine if, like, someone else who I couldn't imagine not refusing to play, but if the Arsenal move didn't come off last year for Eze, and then he watched Arsenal win the league, his boyhood club, and then Palace started as they've started and had let players go, then he'd be pissed as well, wouldn't he? And if a big move come up, he might go, well,
I've got to say...
the only way out of here is if I can't be a good guy. Basically, the good guys show, they kind of realise, like, I'm going to finish last here, so I've got to get out.
This is the Enzo Fernandez thing. We're having it right now. Is all he has to do is just refuse to play, which he's not starting tonight.
I did say this is the good guys.
No, I'm just saying that all he has to do is switch it and be like, I'm not playing, and then we'll just like, fine, just get rid of you. You're such a bastard already that we just want you gone. Whereas if Ollie Watkins just continues to play, they'd be like, oh, we can see this through. Just
it's kind of he's a good lad. He'll put up with it. Is the thing
I'm thinking with Watkins. See, that is actually, now I think that is bang out of order. They should have just let him join his boyhood club. And at the same time, I'm seeing what's going on with Alvarez and going, you ain't going to Barcelona, just drop it. Just
get over it.
And I want us to sell Martinelli. I find it quite bleak that he'll be going to Saudi. And the same with Ollie Watkins. I find it similarly with him. They were playing the same teams. Maybe that's something for me to watch out for. And these journalists take what they say with a pinch of salt. The one for Spurs that, like, Sean would quote to me as being reliable, one of their fans tweeted him saying, why don't we go and sign Watkins? And he replied saying, he hates us. He's an Arsenal fan. He will not join us. He hates us. And
that's a bit grow up in it, but still.
Eze was going to join Tottenham.
Yeah.
Watkins, I don't know. Maybe he was a bit strong with it. I don't know.
It does feel worse sulking your way to Saudi. For whatever reason, it does feel just a little bit.
I read he's getting more than 8 times his current salary over there.
Okay, and that's in case keep refusing to play.
Yeah.
Take everything back.
Yeah. And I think as well, you've seen the Saudi trajectory be go there for 6 months, maybe a year, and then they'll just let you come home.
Go to Turkey seems to be the plan. Get to the next payday.
They just say to the contract, fine, we'll just tear it up and go somewhere else as a free. It's quite crazy, actually. Yeah,
so actually it's a get out of jail free card.
They don't do that in like boxing, they say.
No, it's a bit of a gap in the market where Aston Villa need cash / want to sell, but only for a certain price. Go and play for Saudi for 6 months. Saudi buy you out of your Aston Villa contract. Money's no thing to them. You can go home afterwards if it doesn't work out.
Did you see that tweet I shared yesterday that said, have Villa considered putting one of their fans on the pitch and talking to the opposition about PSR and just boring them? Well, one of the things I thought with Emery when João Gomez was coming off, what is with football managers and having to touch your face? I would hate that. And Gomez off the pitch has been sent off and Emery's doing this. First of all, keep those hands away from me. Second of all, it feels like you're being sunned. And it's such a strange thing to be doing.
You've already been sent off and your head's probably gone. Yeah.
All right, last game of the weekend, TK. Do you have the room to squeeze past me? Because you're going to show me up if you don't.
Yeah.
All right. TK, just the two of us. Where was I? The last game of the weekend. Okay. So most people that aren't Liverpool fans were expecting a Liverpool win in this one, I would say. Is he going to slam that door? Blimey. At what stage of the game did it dawn on you how difficult things were going to be?
Pretty early. Yeah. I think we were probably hoping for, a case of getting Newcastle while they were vulnerable because of the summer that they had. St James is always a difficult place to go, but because of that, obviously the atmosphere around the club, it's feeling pretty negative at the minute, was kind of the perception from the outside. So maybe we were thinking we could kind of get them while they're down, but there was none of that, whether it was with the Kevin Keegan tribute or whatever, the first game of the season, new manager, whatever, but they're right up for it, and I don't think we matched that to begin with.
There was a point at about 5 minutes in where Hall put a tackle in on Isak, and there was a cheer for that. He then clutched his knee, and the place went absolutely berserk. And I tweeted at that moment saying, we might be better off not playing Bruno when we come here. Because it was nuts.
Yeah. I mean, it's really... Players, when they go back to the World Cup, seem to go very much one of two ways. Either they are bang up for it, or they shy away and they kind of think, let's get through this and get home. Isaac very much fell in the latter, didn't it?
They were like that last year when he didn't play.
Yeah.
And you thought, is it going to have faded? And then you must have seen the clip of him getting off the bus, arriving in Newcastle the night before, and all the kids shouting, rat. I thought, fucking hell.
Yeah, it was we'll get on to him, but it was a shame that he didn't respond to it because it just says a little bit about you, unfortunately.
That break that they have for their first goal is rapid. When Elanga is running downhill on you like that, especially without the burden of carrying the ball for the majority of it, it's a wrap, basically. Perfect way of pass by Asula, and then the finish from the Swede is impeccable, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kicker, is that he doesn't often finish like that. Newcastle fans will probably tell you.
They say it was his first Premier League goal.
First Premier League goal for Newcastle. Yeah, brutal. When you look at the team and you see him and Barnes, you do think, with the way we play, there are going to be a fair few opportunities for them to get at us here. We're probably going to need Alisson coming off his line nice and quick, because we're going to have a lot of those sort of... we're going to get caught in transition quite a lot. But for it to happen within 5 minutes was, pretty rough.
I was going to say, as a side note, really, if this is what Jai Sullivan, I don't know if I'm saying that right, if this is what he wants from his wingers, I worry for my man Harvey Barnes, because he's got gas. He's not got gas like that. And there was a point at 1-0 yesterday where I thought, he's playing against Newcastle here, him and Elanga. So I'm interested to see how that goes, because for all of his flaws, and he's linked with a move to Besiktas, Willock does have the gas like that. And if he can play on the left maybe instead, then he may have a future there.
Willock's got more gas than Harvey Barnes.
Yeah, he's very, very fast.
It's quick.
You had doubts about your midfield beforehand. I imagine that hasn't changed off the back of this game.
No, the opening goal perfectly illustrates the issues with our midfield, that ultimately they all just want to get forward. And Szoboszlai's already broken into the box at this point. Gravenberch picks the ball up, dances past someone, which is nice. Then he probably should have a shot. Makes the pass. As soon as you get the pass wrong, now you're so open. And there's almost no other team in the league is going to do this. There's going to be somebody in there who reads the danger and goes, I can't be going here. And it's almost because they aren't necessarily defensive midfielders, but also you kind of need someone who's kind of a bit less good, a bit less of a technical player, they got less ability. Iraola touched on after the game that we obviously need to adjust to these situations and read them better. He said the problem is obviously if Gravenberch gets a shot off, and if he scores, we're going, that's great play from Ryan Gravenberch. So he's like, the fact that he's able to do those things is, I don't want to take that away from him, but also we need to know when to do this. And that's exactly it. You're either going to, because it doesn't look like necessarily we're going to sign midfielder. Between the ones we get, they're going to have to go, listen, when you go, I stay. Very simple, this, but when you go, I stay, and vice versa.
He said new personnel won't solve our issues.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know. He's probably thinking of the players we're in talks with. They won't solve our issues because there doesn't appear to be much suggestion that we're going to do something about the midfield.
I think it's a tricky thing because you have the same with slot where it seems to be such an individual profile that you need that it isn't just go and get a passer, just go and get a destroyer. Like with slot, the thing after you couldn't get Zubimendi, it was like there's no one else we can get that does what we want them to do. And I wonder if it's the same thing for Iraola at this stage of the market.
Maybe. Yeah. I would go with down the destroyer route, someone big, physical. We're not going to get bullied in there, and doesn't even have the ambition to get forward and do what Gravenberch and Szoboszlai want to do. That just goes, no, you have the ball, I'm going to sit in. Because there's one not that long after this, it might have even been off a corner. Szoboszlai gets the ball, and he's got his back to the player. It looks like he's going to go out for a throw. Feints to go back home and then goes left. But again, he's never at one point thought, if I lose the ball here, they're in. And he did lose the ball, and they were in on another attack again. And all their kind of, the problem is you're asking these players to kind of go against their instincts, which is go forward, attack, carry the ball. And not every midfielder can do that. It's kind of obvious. When you look at it individually, there's a lot of talented players there, but it's probably we're kind of the poster boys for why you need balance in your team, not just talent.
His argument, would be that he didn't have a destroyer when he was at Brentford. It was more that they had the numbers and they would swarm you and their press was so good that they didn't need it there. Now, if you're going to play Isak and Wirtz, then you probably aren't going to have the numbers to swarm and press people like that.
Exactly that. And there's the biggest problem, isn't it? That's the big problem around all of this. And I saw that doing the rounds earlier in the week, actually, before we even played, that we're not going to look at a 6 because he didn't play well at Bournemouth, and as you said about the collective pressing or whatever. But I think that just ignores kind of what we've got available and also what other teams do. Carragher's kind of touched on other teams don't play like this and just like empty the midfield in the way that we do. It's been a problem for a while now, and as you said, the two biggest issues to solve are our two most expensive players ever.
Well, Wirtz nearly scores a nice half volley early on. I thought the 5-5 is on, and it's still on until we've played 5 games. But we don't really ever see him again in the game. I don't remember any impact he had after that moment, which is about 12 minutes in.
Yeah. And
actually, it may even before 1-0 up, so it may even be 4 minutes in, and then we don't see him again.
And he does let games pass him by. I really do question. I've questioned a lot as to whether it will work out with him, and partly we've struggled to get that type of player into a team ever since even Klopp back in the day. The midfield was an engine room. It wasn't for a creative player like him. But I think if you are going to do that, you've got to have a certain personality as that player. And I don't think he has it. I just don't think he's that type of guy. I think he will let a game drift and pass him. He doesn't look angry or gutted. There's one where I know you're not going to win the header, but you've got to put yourself up like you're about to, and he just totally ducks out of it. Isak does similar. With both of them, it's the worst combo. You don't know whether it's a physical thing because they both got physical issues. Isak looks like he's had the injuries have taken their toll. Wirtz looks like he's probably just never going to be quick enough and strong enough for the league. But mentally, neither of them look at it at all. They don't look kind of like they're desperate to be a top player and desperate for this to work out. They're kind of going through the motions at this point in time.
If I compare by size and position, Odegaard is almost going to die by trying to have too much of an impact on the game. If the game's getting away from him, he drops to the centre-back to try and pick it up. He goes to the front line to try and press back, even if he breaks down trying to get to it, whereas Wirtz almost seems to, it's not my day today.
Yes. Yeah.
And if he's going to be there if the ball bounces, he's going to get a shot away, but then with each time that doesn't happen, he's less inclined to stick himself in there again.
And when does he, that was a okay strike, but he didn't hit it that clean. When does he strike a ball clean? When does he make a pass where you're like, oh fucking hell, he's the only one on the pitch who could have made this? When does he make a dribble where you go, oh, it gets you out of your seat? It just doesn't really happen that much. When you look at, and I know I've compared them ad nauseum, so it's annoying, but when you look at the impact Shirky had when he came on, you just go like,
Yeah.
I would put up with all his shortcomings because of what he's bringing. With Wirtz at the minute, we're getting all the shortcomings of a small, tricky number 10 without any of the upside.
I can't believe I've waited this long to ask, really, but you said something early during the game. What can be said about that Wissa performance?
I mean, yeah, absolutely monster, wasn't it? I can't remember. We had a conversation with you and someone else about, I was sort of like, do you not think Johan Wissa could...
It's when we were doing our draft on Thursday night.
Yeah, he could work out, because I did like him at Brentford. I thought there's a player in there, and I know didn't have a good time at Newcastle last year, came in injured and probably never recovered, but I thought, could he be, more like the Brentford version? Now, it turns out he's going to be like Ballon d'Or if it's on like this.
So once I've seen you without your burst, I just assume you're not getting that back, especially after an injury. And turns out probably just was still carrying the injury.
He's got that. And
Odegaard last year kept trying to come back because he felt that he was letting the team down or whatever by being out so long, and Wissa is probably doing the same.
Yeah. Turns out he's going to come back with gas and passing a ball like Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah. That one with the outside of the boot to Osula was an absolute joke.
Especially when you're an older player, every kind of period you have out, you must almost feel your career ticking away. And he's close to 30 maybe, but
around 30,
finally got his big move. And then you get injured immediately. You must just be so desperate to get going.
Yeah.
But
again, our players could learn from him as well, because he was at it again. I mean, most of the Newcastle team were, in fairness, but is that sort of performance we need from our forward players in terms of the general energy around him?
It's weird that equally I thought he was the best player on the pitch, but he also had two opportunities that could have killed the game. Mm-hmm. He didn't take them. He had the one-on-one that he goes wide with. He has the one that he just doesn't follow in on the line to tap in. And that left the door open for Liverpool. The break, though, that they had through him to wriggle out of midfield and then set up Willock, I couldn't believe when I watched it again on Match of the Day on my lunch.
He can't escape with the ball.
It's like 5 players around him, and he's just a one quick turn and he's gone.
And watching us in these games, you're like, I know he's getting out of this. I know he's escaping with the ball. And that's one of the worst indictments you can have on a team, is when you look at them going that and they're not going to make the challenge here.
And on the one hand, it would be fair for a Liverpool defence to say, there's no way Joe Willock gets this out of his feet, opens his body up and curls this into the corner. But you're paid the money to anticipate that could happen, get out to him and block that from happening, and everyone just backs away from him.
Yeah, we could easily say him and Alanga don't finish like that most other weeks. But most teams aren't going to give them the opportunity to find out in the same way. So it's, you can't really cry bad luck in those circumstances.
They said on comment, I think Neville said Alisson showed him the corner, and I thought, I don't know how much he can do with either of those. He kind of has to show the corner, because if he fires that near post like Saka likes to,
then we go, how has he not covered his near post? Yeah, Neville has at times, and it's not easy during the game, but he has a pretty incredible ability to ignore probably the main issue and really hone in on something that not the most consequential was the keeper. We could look at the entire midfield vacating, but no, we'll look at should the defenders have been closer and should the goalkeeper have got further out from his post.
And as the game went on, you weren't filled with confidence by your substitutions.
Well, it's just not great when you're in a position where we have to bring on Lewis Kumas, who kind of canvassing opinion from Hull fans were like, well, he was okay for us. And to be fair, I actually thought he was one of our better players when he came on. He brought energy and directness, which you haven't had.
John McKenzie, I think it was, from TIFO, say that from all the studying he's done on Iraola this summer, it might just be that he's the only one that has the required kind of physicality and burst to play the way he wants to play.
I could see it. I saw the same thing. And Munoz came on and he has an impact, but it's like a weird, kind of clumsy...
It's almost not one where you're like, get him in the next game. It was...
Fans online were, but that might be a sign of where we're at.
Yeah.
But Rio, it didn't look comfortable on the right. At times when we played him in pre-season, it's looked the same. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. But Munoz has some sort of impact, but it's kind of almost... He's rapid, and so it's going to cause a certain amount of problems just by that, if nothing else. Like I said, Gakpo looked our most assured attacking player.
Nice,
he looked like,
nice finish from him. But he can do that.
Really, good finish. And he looked like he had a point to prove. And we know we're going to get, for every one of those, we're going to get the one where he hits it up into the stand as well.
The one for me was where he's clean through the field to stretch, but he's through one-on-one, and
he
he's
has to go on his
still
left.
trying to get inside, and it's...
You just take it on your left foot there, and the chips fall.
Hit it fast enough, and it's going past the keeper.
Yeah.
I do think, and I'm guilty of it with some of my own players, that you're just kind of done with at that point. They can't get you back around. It's almost like a taking for granted that Gakpo can get 5 to 7 of those goals a season that he does get there.
Yeah.
Because that's not an easy thing to just pick out from someone.
And whilst he's frustrating, I know what I'm getting from Gakpo in a way that none of our other players do. We've got 2 big signings that we just spoken about. Rio's a young player. Victor Munoz is a young player coming to the league for the first time. Whoever we bring in won't have played in our system with us at all. So he is kind of the most sure thing. And whilst he can be frustrating, he isn't like a bad player either. And it seems like that's getting lost a little bit in all the talk around this. And I'm not, unless we do make some spectacular moves, I'm not in favour of getting rid of him.
Sounds like you're going to get a decent wedge from him. If Spurs and City are in for him.
If they cover big money, then you probably have to take it. But it's a little bit like he's not as good as Luis Diaz, but that sort of thing of, okay, the money was good, but also what do you do with it? And you might buy someone who's less proven. And I was kind of sobered up by, this was probably a couple of weeks ago. Sean messaged me saying that if Spurs got Gakpo and we got Barkler, let's have a bet, as we've done in previous years, for who gets the most goals and assists. And that's when I sort of sobered up. I was like, I think Gakpo would probably win that. And so as much as I think Barkler's a good player, I think Gakpo kind of is just more proven in terms of, I think he'd be really good, but Gakpo in terms of numbers probably might well beat him. So
I think it's also when, as you kind of said there, I saw people saying, if you get offered the 50 million for Nwaneri and you take it, and I saw someone else say, but would you take it if someone said that you were giving Nwaneri away and still using all of that money and some extra to get Konsa through the door? And all of a sudden, it doesn't feel quite the same. No. Like 60 million isn't going what 60 million was before. It adds far more context when you think about what you're getting for that.
And we've got no continuity in this team as it is. So we're getting rid of one of the only bits of continuity we do have if we get rid of it.
Ironically, I thought Newcastle killed their own chances a little bit with that Fabian Schär change with 30 seconds to go. Like, is it really worth the extra time you're adding on for the referee to have an excuse? Because that can turn into 2 attacks, that can turn into 3 corners.
I hate when my manager does it. I hate it.
Because
it feels dumb time wasting. It's people. I don't think people fully understand time wasting when they
I don't mind my player being down until they're down in stoppage time. They're like, get up.
Yes.
Get up.
Yeah.
Or when it's like right before, and you're like, he's obviously going to add all of this on now.
Yeah.
And so I was shocked when they did that. I thought, Shaw doesn't move too well these days. It's going to take him that to get back there.
Yeah.
And in terms of crossing it into the box, they were actually dealing with that fine, -1 that Isak should have got his head to. The issue was going to be if it was sprinkling around on the edge of the area like it was, or a long shot and getting out to it. I didn't see what Shaw could add there that a midfielder wasn't going to do.
No.
So they get him on. It's really a long ball down the field they don't deal with. Van Dijk nods it on, someone nods it on.
He makes it easy himself, basically.
Munoz is able to nick in. And I'll ask you first, do you think it's a penalty?
I didn't doubt for a second. Yeah.
Until 12:45 this afternoon, I thought it was soft. In fact, at the time, I would go as far as to say I didn't think it was a penalty. And it was only how confidently everyone else was saying it was a penalty that even I stopped short of my tracks and thought, I'm actually not going to put this in a group chat that I don't think it's a penalty. And the more I saw, the more I thought coming together was the words I was kind of hearing for seeing that anywhere else on the pitch. And there was one angle they showed on Match of the Day that I didn't see on Sky's coverage yesterday, when it is the inside shot and you see the knees kind of bang into each other, where I thought, okay, right, no issue with that. And I'll be honest, maybe I've written you off at my own peril. And as much as there's a few people I would like to torment a little bit if you did lose, it doesn't feel like a season where I should need to be honed in on your results, and every loss you have and every last minute goal feels like a gut punch to me, like it has 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
When we were all three of us in a title race, and then where it was us and you until it wasn't anymore. And so really my thought then was, Isaac's got to take this, because whatever happens, it's funny. Like if he scores it and the place goes nuts, that's great. Like I want to see the scenes of that. If he misses, that's great as well.
Which he definitely would have. He definitely would have.
And then
the way it had gone.
You see sometimes, don't you, where the players are doing the I'm standing back here and waiting for them to kill the time, but usually they're kind of collecting their thoughts. And Isak was going back and forth with one of the Newcastle players. And I thought, he's not taking that. He's too relaxed in this situation compared to the rest of the game to be going anywhere near this. I thought he's going to be 10 yards to the side if that's the case. And then I thought, I don't think Gakpo's taking this either. And as soon as Szoboszlai took the ball, I thought that makes perfect sense. And I think it's quite funny that a lot of Newcastle fans are calling her a pussy after the fact for not taking the penalty despite the penalty going in. But I was closer to that line of thinking. I do think I don't want him to cause a scene, but my 130 million striker that's been getting dog's abuse all game should want to take that ball and tell you what, even if it's just a walk up and you see them kind of have the word and Szoboszlai not arguing, but says, like,
rank as it were. Yeah.
This is me having this. He
didn't fancy it.
If he was volunteering, it was like when I would wait for almost everything to be done and say to my mum, do you want a hand with the washing up? And she'd say, it's done now. And I say, oh, okay, well, I would have helped.
Bastard.
And I think that's what Isak was doing at the very most. And I will say, and this is for everyone involved, it's quite hard to criticise a decision when the taker then wraps it top bins. It's hard to say he should have taken that when it could be that even if he wants that, he's not the best taker at the club to be doing it. So I don't know. I went from quite enjoying the penalty to seeing Szoboszlai's celebration and being like, what are you doing? If there's any chatter around you, it's because you finished, 5th place and got your manager sacked? Like there's quite... If there is talk around Liverpool, it feels pretty justified at this moment in time.
I didn't know if it was just to the Newcastle fans, just generally.
Maybe, which on this occasion, that case, I'd rather you look at them a bit more.
Or just do the sure.
Even just like a look around, like he was kind of laser focused. A lot of chatter. I hate that celebration, whoever it is anyway.
In this occasion, I thought it was more about the Newcastle fans on this, because in general, I do, because almost always it's someone who's done something to create a lot of chatter about themselves then does it as well.
This is someone that was going to join Newcastle. That was all the talk you remember before he joined Liverpool. The expectation was he was joining Newcastle, and then out of nowhere,
I don't know why they can't stand us.
You went in.
Weird, isn't it?
I thought that was Munoz. Munoz had agreed to join Newcastle, which I text my brother during the game just to remind him, and didn't seem thrilled about that.
Yeah. Feel terrible for him. Feel terrible.
Yeah, it was a fun game. There was a lot to it.
These games pretty much
was left with the feeling of, even I'm looking at Lewis Hall thinking, feel a bit bad for you.
And he was also just left on his own at the end of the game. No one really went over.
I saw a couple of people, but at the same time,
the thing was,
I need a few minutes after you've just done that, then I feel that's...
He had a great game. I'll give him that. He shut us down that side. Now, admittedly, ping pong, you don't have to do too much to shut that man down. Him and Kirkes, I saw someone say they defend like attackers and attack like defenders. It's so true. We have all of the vulnerability of attacking fullbacks, but none of the quality. It kills me.
But Neville was like, look at Elanga going past him there, and it's like...
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a foot race for Elanga, you're in trouble. But yeah, it's just really unlucky from Lewis Hall. I think he's just got in a situation whereby Victor Munoz knocks it past him. And that challenge, we had loads of those in the middle of the pitch, free kicks being given, and that happens. But that can happen. And I think sometimes, with the stuff with penalties, I think people almost think it's not saying he's done something malicious or violent conduct or anything. It's just he's got caught wrong place, wrong time, and it's bang unlucky.
I think he's tried to preempt where Munoz is going and put his body between them, which he's done quite well for the rest of the game.
It's like he's been perfect for the whole rest of the game. For 1 minute, he wasn't. That's all it was. I mean, they can feel aggrieved because they should have won the game. They deserve. They were better than us, no doubt about it.
I don't know if this is something that'll come back to haunt me later in the season. I don't know. I saw a lot of comparisons with a moment in the Brighton Villa game.
Right.
I kind of feel like your refereeing doesn't have to be straight down the line, harsh. A foul's a foul at 4-0 up. I feel like you can overlook
right.
And so I didn't think it was a good point of comparison, really. And then I saw Arsenal fans trying to do the Gyökeres one at St. James's Park, and I didn't think that was a good comparison either, because the whole thing with there was, and I still disagree with it, was he got a touch on the ball, and that was their reason for ruling it out.
Right.
Lewis Hall didn't get a touch on the ball.
No,
I think we can find so many. I think I worded the Villa one wrong there. I'm not going to get too worked up about penalty decision at 4-0, so I don't think it's a good one to reference. But
it's a difficult one, this, because a certain collection of clubs, ours chief among them, you are never really going to have an objective discussion about it online, because either pro-Liverpool or anti-Liverpool is such crazy strong forces that you're never really going to get. I did think if this is blank club versus blank club, and if it was in Villa Brighton, which people aren't too big on it against either of those clubs, I don't think this is a discussion point at all. I don't think there's going to be many penalties given whereby you say no contact at the ball, significant enough contact with the player, didn't wipe him out, but
I think it's the time
enough.
of it. I think that can happen in any game, and all of a sudden it needs to be not more stone wall. It needs to be more physicality to it for people to say.
But I just, outside of chopping him, like, I feel there's enough.
I don't disagree.
I was surprised at the discussion, but I shouldn't have been surprised at discussion, I guess.
I also think it's one, that type of challenge can happen in 10 different ways, and I think everyone probably has an example that they can say, why was that given and that one wasn't given?
Yeah.
And there's like a vague similarity to it. The neon, I think once you say the neon knee thing, anyone that has felt that, because I was looking at Munoz thinking, look, he's fouled you, but you ain't that hurt like that and that. But then that translates across all penalties.
Absolutely. He definitely goes for it. I get also people are upset. That's the last second of the game. It is way more fun for Liverpool to lose that game. I get it. So it's not but that isn't really how refereeing is supposed to be done.
I'm in a group chat with someone that sent some messages after that were very clearly typed out at 2-1.
Oh, no.
And when you send them at 2-2, it's like, your heart's not in.
Yeah.
And I said this, or like, your heart wasn't in that message. So, Forest at home on Saturday.
Yeah, you've got early kickoff, which we're not traditionally great in.
But
the problem is, if you are a bit slow and lethargic, then Forest is a bit of a slog. And the problem is we need a result there, because then our following game is Friday night against Ipswich, away at Ipswich, and you kind of just go, that's a classic. No, but that's what we were speaking about earlier with Hull and United, whatever. These teams early on are bang up for it at home, and I don't know if you saw us, we ain't up for it.
Their win this weekend matched their points tally at home from the last time they were in the league.
Really?
Yeah.
Blimey.
Yeah.
But even, a good case in point, their first, in their season, last season in the league, first game of the season was against us. That first 45, they smashed us off the pitch. Yeah. Now, we recovered and then looked really good actually in the next 45. I don't know about you. I don't look at this team and think they can switch it at half time. So we can't end up going under the cosh like that. And it's, again,
I think I picked
night game under the lights and all that.
I think I picked 4-1 Liverpool on predictors, so maybe I'm not the best. I was waiting on Liverpool -1 for
against Newcastle.
Yeah,
that's I wouldn't be going -1 on us too many times.
I thought probably should have learned that last season, but didn't.
Yeah.
I thought Isak was going to blow them away. Was my thinking.
Waiting on that one.
Last question here, and it relates to him, and maybe you've answered it already. So I wonder if you saw Neville's comments on the pair of them post-game, and if you did, if you thought they were fair or you had any extra thoughts on them. So he essentially said, we've been very easy on the pair of them. Now is probably the time for them to get their act together, basically.
I think he's probably right, to be honest. I think both of them had a longer grace period than players going to a club of that stature or for that price you don't normally get. And I think there are a few different things that got them out of trouble with that. With being honest, the Jota situation gave a fair amount of grace to the whole team, to be honest. And then the focus turned on the manager quite quickly. And the general style of play and that thing.
Like breaking his leg kind of made you pretend what had happened before. Started badly because he had no preseason. Don't know why that was. Maybe. So you can play that, and then he gets injured. So saving that for Conser.
And he also scored some decent goals in the interim, so you could convince yourself on that one. Wirtz, you go, saw flashes, and it's his first season in the league, so physically we've seen players do that and adjust. This season, you don't have any of those excuses. I think, I've got to be honest, you don't really, as a Liverpool fan, feel inclined to agree with Gary Neville at any point, certainly when he's criticising your players, but he's pretty much spot on, by and large, on what he said about them.
Jamie Carragher said the league should want Florian Wirtz to do well in his column this week. And Hummels tweeted 2 minutes into the game yesterday that Wirtz is going to get 25 goals and assists in the league alone this season.
That's Hummels?
Yeah.
Don't know how much Prem he's watching, but I mean, that's not happening. Even if he plays well, that doesn't happen. The league should want Florian Wirtz to do well. I know what he means because, in theory, that could be a superstar player. The league doesn't want Liverpool to do well. That's fine.
No, I think United fan point out pretty quickly that he didn't say this about Pogba or Di Maria or any of these players when they were at United.
Yeah.
Probably fair. All right, that probably brings us to an end for this episode of Spitballing Pod. We will see you next week. I will say once again that the episode will be out on Wednesday because we will see deadline day through first to make sure that we don't miss anything. Plenty of new people appearing next week. Hopefully, see you then. Adios. Goodbye.